This next tutorial is on how to use the Select by Attributes toolbar to select data. Before I launch into using Select by Attributes, one small thing I forgot from the last tutorial. Now I've put another layer in here, census tracts, on top of neighborhoods with crime. If I wanted to just select the census tracts here, so long as both layers are turned on, I actually select things that are underneath it as well. There's two ways you can remedy this. One, turn the layer off you don't want to be selected. Then I select those, and if I turn that back on, it's not selected. Another way, if you want to make sure everything remains on, you go to, this window here, List by Selection, and allows you what you can select. Clicking on this first one will make something not selectable. So notice, selectable, census tracts, not selectable, neighborhoods with crime. So now if I do the exact same thing, neighborhoods with crime will not be selected. And I can change it by making it toggleable again. So as I mentioned, now we're going to learn about Select by Attributes. So Select by Attributes is where you make a query in a form of SQL language which allows you to select things based upon values that are in their attributes. So I've prepared this data to have some information about the name of the neighborhood, how big it is, and then the number of crimes, and then the numbers of certain other types of crimes: burglaries, assaults, robberies, and thefts. So to access Select by Attributes, right-click, open the attribute table. And this little interesting thing, we went to this briefly earlier when we learned about adding fields and when we learned about exporting tables and such. But right here, again, ArcGIS hiding very powerful things in difficult to reach places is one of the most powerful tools in ArcGIS. So I'm going to try to keep all the windows open here. So very simply, you set up queries. What I've done here, I've said map name. So always use these fields that they give to you. Always click. It's very much easier than remembering how to type it. Notice that whatever a field name is something that is bracketed, is in quotations. That's how you discern if something's a field. So I'm saying select where map equals Academy Gardens. And it will select Academy Gardens. Or is a nice interesting addition. I could say map name equals Academy Gardens or airport. I've done this on purpose because it's going to fail. It says it does not like that. Anytime you use or and queries, you have to restart the whole thing. So map name equals Academy Gardens or map name equals airport. If I use and, nothing happened. And why is that the case? Because I've said map name equals Academy Gardens and map name also equals airport. Map name can only equal one thing. So you tend to use or when you want something to, you can use the same field, right? So or map name equals Academy Gardens, or it could equal airport. You use and if you want to do multiple fields. So map name equals Academy Gardens, and number of crimes, total crimes, is greater than or equal to 100. Again, that's silly. Well, that would have only not worked at Academy Gardens. Wow, look at that, exactly 100. Had I said is greater than or equal to 101, it wouldn't work, right? Because both are not satisfied. Map name is Academy Gardens is satisfied, but crimes are greater than 100 is not satisfied. So returning now to the total crimes, right? You can pick a number equals 642. You can pick a range is greater than 642. And it'll select all 42 that had greater than 642 crimes, right here. Greater than or equal to as well, 642. This will just add 1 to it. Good, now we're up to 43. You can also do burglaries does not equal. So anytime you see these two things, two little, oh gosh, what do you even call them? Arrow things against each other like that, that means does not equal. So burglaries does not equal, or rather, let's do this with neighborhoods because it'll be a little bit easier to understand. I would say neighborhood or map name does not equal Academy Gardens. Everything but Academy Gardens is picked. Map name does not equal Academy Gardens, and map name does not equal airport. Notice that when I use a does not equal, an and is very relevant. One other interesting thing that you can use, and let me scroll down to make this more known, I have a bunch of neighborhoods here with the word west in front of them. I could theoretically go through and select each of them. West Central, or map name equals West Kensington, etc. But there's one more very important thing to know, and that's the like. Map name, like. Like institutes what's called a wildcard search. Put a single quotation to start. West, oops, make sure the looks exactly the same, right? Because if it would have been uppercase, that wouldn't have worked. West percentage. What I'm saying here is map name is anything like that begins with west and then has anything following it. That's what this percentage means. It means anything following it. And there you go. Notice, however, that Washington Square West wasn't chosen. If I put a percentage in front of it, I'm saying could begin with anything, and then there's west, and then anything could follow. And that's why Washington Square West would get chosen. So notice that difference. By not having the percentage in front, I'm saying it begins with west and then anything follows. Whereas here I'm saying west can come at any point. And you can do this for anything. Maybe I want to pick something that starts with W. Maybe I want to pick something that has the letter W anywhere inside of it. So a real nice way to select text, right? There's a W in here, W, 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 this is why they're picked. So a real nice way to look and select only parts of texts instead of the entire thing. So let's start with this W, all right? We've got 26. Let's say I have the 26 neighborhoods I want, and now I want to start narrowing things down, right? So I'm only interested of these 26 of ones that have greater than 20 burglaries. So rather than start a new selection, I want to divert your attention up here to selection method. So we've always been doing what's called create new selections, which is why every time we run a select by attribute, whatever our last query was disappears and our new one begins. But we can also add to a certain selection, or in this instance, remove from a certain selection. Right? So we wanted to remove any census tracts, or sorry, any neighborhoods that had fewer than 21 burglaries, or fewer than 20. So I would say burglaries are less than 20. Notice remove is highlighted, so what's going to leave here is everything you see Winfield Heights and up. I could also select from the current selection. Now, selecting from the current selection would mean of these 16, select some out of it. So again, it's very similar to this. Remember we looked at this last lesson where you were able to take the highlights and select those. So I want to select from the current selection anywhere where the assaults are greater than or equal to 40. So I'm only going to select 44, 47, 47, 47 going down. So it's going to be from Washington Square West down. Add to selection, another interesting one, but also keep in mind that add to selection, if I use this, these 9 will remain, but everything else becomes open again, all the ones that aren't selected, right? So if I go to select by attributes, add to selection, I've decided, so long as the crimes are above 1,000, right, regardless of if it didn't meet any of my other criteria, I'm going to add them. And to these 9, it will add the other ones that satisfied those criteria. So keeping in mind, creating a hierarchy when you do selections. Create new selection. If I do this now, that number 28 will change because it will just delete the old selection and select any, which happens to be 22 in this instance, that have greater than 1,000 crimes. Add to the current selection. Maybe I want to add to it anywhere where the crimes are above 800. So I'm adding a little bit to it. Remove from the current selection. I actually decide I want to change that number to 900. So let's remove anything that was under 900. Oh, sorry, keep only the things that are under 900, my apologies. And finally, select from current selection only those maybe that have a name that has an S in it. Map name, like, %S, make it a lowercase s. So only those with lowercase s's remain. So again, new selection deletes the old, adds to whatever is currently selected, removes from what is currently selected, selects from, almost like using the highlight tool.